rhythm with a flow.
The Pistons are going to bring it to their Eastern Conference rival, and today road game. We are in Indiana for some Pacers basketball. His hometown crowd ready to go. This is Kevin Harlan here to call the action. With me, Steve Kerr and Clark Kellogg. And now the opening lineup for Detroit. We've got Wallace, Rip Hamilton out there with Chauncey Billups. Then there's Tayshaun Prince. And it's Wallace in at the 4. And for the Pacers, Artest is out there with Jermaine O'Neal. Then it's Miller. Then it's Steven Jackson and Bender.
Well, you remember these two teams years ago had a pretty healthy rivalry, Detroit and Indiana. And last season it was pretty even. They split 4 games. And that's a nice way for his team to get started.
Yeah, really nice start for his team to get out in front here.
And it's the Pistons with the ball. Wallace outside. From down in the low post, it goes. Still, though, you know, Clark, if you're a Pistons fan, you hate to see the Pacers, a rival, in the playoffs while you're sitting at home.
Well, for Detroit, it must have been nice watching them get eliminated early by the Bulls, the Pacers did, but they'd much prefer to be in the playoffs and a team doing the eliminating rather than just watching it. But they're a long way from, I think, being a playoff team based on what the roster looks like right now.
Who is the Pacers' biggest rival, Chicago or Detroit? Hard to say.
It really is. I mean, you know, going back to the successful years of the Pacers from the mid-'90s to early 2000s, it was both. It was at different times. Initially it was the Bulls, and then in that early 2000s period, it probably was Detroit.
And we know about the Knicks.
Yeah, well, that goes back to the early
exactly.
mid-'90s. Yeah, so exactly. I think it was probably Detroit most recently.
Yes. And let's get this update now from Doris Burke, who's across the way on the sideline.
Kevin, thank you. I spoke with the Pistons head coach for just a bit. He feels their biggest hurdle will be creating enough space for their perimeter players to do what they want on offense. He said if we're unable to break down their pressure at times, they'll continue to smother us and severely handcuff what we can do to put up points. Kevin?
Terrific, Doris. Thanks. They put a lot of thought into how they're going to match up against the opposing defense, guys.
Well, one of the things you got to do here, Kevin, and Steve, you can't afford empty possessions against this team. You've got to put the ball in the basket.
Yeah, that's for sure, Clark. You got to make them count because you know you're not going to.
And Jackson throws it down. Check it out here again with the Sprite Slam Cam.
Come on now, I didn't see. Can you believe that finish? Boy, a little bit of flair and flavor at the end of it.
Oh, that'll be a fan favorite, all right.
That was not your average typical dunk.
Goes up. Nice shot by Wallace.
Can't pass up that kind of look.
And here are the Pacers now. Jumps up, and he was fouled in the act of shooting. Chance here now for a three-point play.
And as usual, Steven Jackson last season, among the league leaders in technical fouls. He's always been a very volatile player. He ended up tied for second most in the league with 15.
And fouled hard that time. He'll get to the line and shoot 2. You know, speaking of Steven Jackson, Steve, he's one of those mile-a-minute guys. Clark, a gregarious guy in the locker room, but the more you talk to the refs, you know, it's just natural. The more technicals you're likely to get.
Well, it's a challenge to rein him in. He's so emotional. You don't want him to feel you're taking the other side. You also want to make sure he's not getting distracted. So you got to pick your spot.
Well, one of the reasons the Pacers were able to move forward in that Central Division is that teams like Milwaukee, Detroit, and Cleveland really struggled last season.
You know, Steve, you mentioned the Pacers in the Central Division. Chicago, really the one dominant team from that division. And the Bulls knocked them off in 5 in the first round. But, you know, the Pacers were scrappy against them.
They really were. I was extremely pleased and proud of how the Pacers competed. Didn't know exactly what to expect, having been through somewhat of a disjointed season. But the team came on really strong, showed a lot of life in that series. And they have young talent, maybe not the caliber of MVP Derrick Rose, but they've got players that are going to be good for a long time.
Here's Wallace, and yes, a nice assist from Billups. Wallace has got 8. Indiana trailing here. And here's Jackson. He's got 7. And Billups picks him up defensively. Miller kicks to Artest. Back to Miller. Shot clock at 6. Over Prince. And that one's good by Miller. Miller's got his first points in this one.
Even with just a little bit of room, he's going to immediately go on the attack.
Well, I tell you what, the coaching performance of Rick Carlisle in the playoffs last season was, I think, what cemented him in the minds of many as an outstanding coach. We've always known it. He was terrific with Detroit. He was outstanding with the Pacers. And he's got a championship ring with the Dallas Mavericks.
Billups with the ball, looking for his first bucket of the game. Up and in on the layup. It's a tie ball game.
Well, going back to Carlisle, I mean, he did such a great job, you're right, Clark, in the playoffs last year, mixing up the rotation, but going deep into the well to get the right matchups through every step of the playoffs. I mean, I thought he did as good a job as possible for the Mavericks in that playoff run. That's one of the reasons they won the title.
Gets it to go. Wallace has got 10 points.
And that steal really triggered the fast break. Nice play.
Hey, you're right, and the break itself may have been even better.
So the Pacers called timeout, their first of the game.
Well, the Pacers handled themselves pretty well against the Eastern Conference last season, 28 and 24. And they seem to be a team on the rise. They've got a lot of young talent. They have a little bit of a struggle defensively. They got to defend the hoop.
I'm not sure they could have gotten there anyway.
Here are the Pistons with the ball. Goes up on the wing. Again, the Pistons good for 2.
Well, everyone seems to have the hot hand here early on.
You know, if they keep up this scoring pace, we'll definitely see some big point totals from both of these teams.
Back to Miller. The 10-footer. That one goes. Count. It's all knotted up.
That's 4 of their last 5 buckets now coming in the paint area.
And they're in attack mode right now, barreling in there with bad man intentions.
Billups kicks to Wallace. Over Artest. Wallace misses.
Cannot count on him to miss a good look like that very often.
And stolen by Billups. The prayer from beyond half court is off the mark. O'Neal kicks to Artest. Here's O'Neal, and no good trying to get that one. Some great action here early as we end the first quarter, Clark, in a tie. And it's more NBA. Neither team able to build much of a lead up to this point as we start the second quarter.
Well, Jermaine O'Neal only played in 26 regular season games for the Celtics last year, and it makes you wonder, you know, how much does he have left, because he certainly has had some knee trouble recently.
They've got Miller, Jermaine O'Neal out there with Artest. Then it's Steven Jackson and Bender. That's the Pacers 5. Clark, you mentioned J.O. He can still contribute, but he has to remain healthy, which, Steve, has been a problem for him.
Boy, 15 years in the league, and it's taken its toll on Jermaine O'Neal. But we did see him after missing most of the regular season for Boston last year. We saw him be a major force in that New York series in the first round for the Celtics.
And Doris Burke has something for it. And he puts it down with authority. Spike slam cam for another angle.
And again, the lead changes hands.
Yep, back and forth we go, Steve. I mean, back and forth, back and forth. Neither side caving in.
Billups. Indiana leading. Now here is Miller. Dishes it to Jackson. 6 on the shot clock. Now Hamilton defending. Indiana needs to get a shot off. He goes up, and Jackson gets it to go. Jackson's got 11.
Something has to change, guys. That's 10 straight points coming in the paint against this team.
Well, they got to collapse in there, and everybody's got to be conscious of it. It's a team effort in protecting the paint. Control the ball, and then everybody's got to get in there and keep the defense locked down.
Prince misses. Pacers leading by 3.
Well, it wasn't that long ago that Detroit was the dominant team in the Eastern Conference year after year. But times change, a lot of turnover in Detroit, and they are in a major rebuilding mode now.
And it's Detroit's ball. They trail by 3. Billups from outside, and the shot is good. He has 5. Clark, a lot of give and take between these sides early.
Kevin, how about 6 lead changes in this half already?
Yeah, good one here. Guys, this is going to be fun to watch. 2 evenly matched teams, both teams playing hard.
Here's our test. And it's the Pistons with the ball. Billups inside the line. That doesn't go either for Billups. And Steve, back to what you were saying about the Pistons. You know, it's hard to tell when it's time to move a successful team historically in a different direction. Clark, you're part of a front office, and I'm sure you guys battle with that every day. When do you make the change? When do you stick with what you've got?
Yeah, it's kind of the conundrum. Do you jump before you get pushed? You know, teams get older, players get older. They did trade Chauncey Billups, and they let Rasheed Wallace go, and I think that timing was about right. The problem is that now you've got to make good choices and have your young players start to develop, and that usually takes a little longer than you want it to.
And they got some chemistry issues there, too.
Yeah, they did have some friction, yeah, no question about it.
Nice job there of disrupting that play.
Yeah, nearly came up with the steal.
Here's Wallace. He's got 10. And he misses the go-ahead basket. Miller outside. The feed to Jackson. Back to Miller. And Prince comes to help. O'Neal dishes to Jackson. Clock at 6. Here's our test. It's good. The assist this time from Jackson. And the Pacers lead by 2.
Offensively just hammering away in the paint.
And that's 10 straight points inside, too.
Reverses. He takes it up and lays it in.
It's been a little too easy for them inside, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think so, Steve. I mean, they've really dictated the action in the paint. That's been their focus, and the defense hasn't mounted much resistance at all. He's one of the few guys you don't mind seeing take the 3 in transition.
Here's Wallace, and he banks in the layup. Wallace has got 12.
Nice soft touch to drop that one in.
Timeout called the Pacers.
You know, for the Pacers last season, it was encouraging for them to make the playoffs, but it can't obscure the hard work that's still left ahead. I mean, they only won 37 games in the regular season. They would have needed 9 or 10 more wins to make the playoffs in the West, so they've still got a ways to go.
And a change here for the Pacers. Tinsley's checked in. 1:33 left in the first half. Clark, you mentioned the 37 wins. That was 25 less than the Chicago Bulls team they faced in the first round.
Sure was, yeah.
Steve?
Well, even with that said, Kevin, it was a very competitive series. It went 5 games, but every single game went down in the stretch. Nice time to use that foul to stop the layup.
You know, if you can save just 1 point, that foul was the right move. You know, you take the Bulls out of the equation, and the Pistons actually had a good year in the Central Division games last season.
So for the Pistons, 7-9 in their division, but 4 of those losses came to Chicago, Steve. They were swept by the Bulls.
Well, not a very strong division, obviously. The Bulls, really a good team. Everybody else under 500. So Chicago ran away with that division, but at least Detroit was competitive with their other division rivals.
O'Neal passes to Artest. Took him no time at all on that one. Artest's got 9. 56 seconds left in the first half of basketball. Here's Hamilton. No good on the 3. Pacers leading by 5.
I'd like to see a 2-for-1 situation here, Clark.
I agree. I think it's always good to give yourself that last shot.
Floats one up. Gets it to go. He has 6.
Right, you just see them taking it strong into the paint over and over again.
Yeah, that really seems to be the strategy, partner. I mean, pound it inside.
So tough for the defense to get out to the three-point line in transition.
Bender covered by Hamilton. Bender, Artest. Here's Miller. Rebound by Wallace.
Oh, easy look there, but, you know, he misses those once in a while.
Outside, Billups. Kicks it out to Prince. And that's not going to go. Back in a moment from Indianapolis.
And it's been a great basketball game going on in Indianapolis.
Welcome back, everyone. The second half about to get underway, and it's been a close one so far. Third quarter action getting rolling right now, brought to you by Gatorade, all fueled up and ready to go. Here's who's on the floor. On the floor for Detroit, we've got Wallace. Chauncey Billups out there with Richard Hamilton. Then there's Wallace, and it's Prince in at the 3 slot.
And for the Pistons, like a lot of young teams, it was a real struggle last season on the road. In fact, they only won 9 times away from their home building.
For the lead, count the bucket. Prince has got 5 points now this quarter. 7 lead changes now, and we're just in the third quarter.
Yeah, each side having a tough time staying in front.
Well, the fans love it. I mean, a tug-of-war, back and forth affair, but if you're a coach, there's a little frustration here. You're trying to pull ahead, but pretty evenly matched game.
Steve, going back to those 9 wins on the road for Detroit you just talked about, Clark, just not a pretty sight when they traveled away from the Motor City.
Well, the issue for Detroit was offensively. They just didn't have any kind of consistency or continuity. I mean, they could not successfully put together strong offensive showings, especially on the road. And I think you've got to score better on the road than you do at home. I think typically you play a little better defensively at home. On the road, you've got to be ready to score the ball.
Here's Miller. Now Hamilton defending. And stolen by Billups.
They trapped him on the inside, and he coughed it right up.
Back to O'Neal. And stolen by Wallace. The Pistons leading. Billups from outside. Jackson grabs the board. Jackson's got 3 rebounds so far in the game. Miller kicks to Artest. It's good from long range. Artest's got 12 in the game.
Good team play there. You move the ball until you find the right shot for the right person.
They're a well-oiled machine, Steve. I mean, working extremely well as a cohesive unit. Every pass delivered on time and on target. A lot of ball movement and player movement. It's a thing of beauty. You know, Kevin, one of the things that's sometimes overlooked with Billups, he's strong at 6'3" and 200 pounds plus, but he's an excellent low post player for a guard.
And it's Detroit's ball. It's a 1-point game. Wallace against O'Neal. And plenty of contact on the shot, so 2 free throws coming up. And Clark, you talk about Billups' great post-up ability. He may be slowing down with age, but Steve, that post-up game of his is timeless.
Yeah, 6'3", you know, as Clark mentioned, a really strong body. And he's got good footwork, great touch, just a good knack for scoring. He's one of the better post-up point guards in the NBA today.
Artest dishes to Jackson. Artest Right side, Artest. Here's O'Neal, and there are the Pacers with another bucket.
That's a lot of height for the defense to have to deal with.
You know what, guys? I mean, especially against a guy with his touch.
And the Pistons decide to take their first timeout right here.
Well, the Pacers historically have always been tough on their home court, and last season was no different. 24-17 in Indianapolis. It's one of the reasons the Pacers made the playoffs.
Here's Billups. He's got 11. Here's Hamilton. Here's the break. Miller, right side, over Hamilton, and that one's good by Miller. Now it's a 4-point Pacer lead. Well, Clark, you know all about this Indiana team being in their front office. Dead last in attendance last season, averaging just a little over 13,000 fans, but the team gave the diehard fans something to care about with the playoff experience.
Yeah, they certainly did, and hopefully that'll catapult more fans into coming back to Conseco. In 2001, the team averaged almost 18,000 fans. If the team gets back to contention, you know Indiana loves basketball, and those fans will be back.
Well, and you love the way he searched for good shots all game long.
Here's Jackson, and he finishes on the layup. Jackson's got 4 points in the quarter.
Well, that's been nice, efficient work, guys, that he's been doing. I mean, we haven't seen him take many bad shots, and that's the sign of a mature, poised player.
Passes it to Wallace. He's picked up by O'Neal. Up with it. Stuffs it through.
Well, that's the way to corral that rebound and then go back up with force. Make them feel you.
Yeah, you know, Clark, the work he does on the offensive glass has always been so impressive.
Now, that might be where he's most valuable to this team.
And the Pacers, another three.
Well, they really picked up the intensity here since halftime.
I think they got the pep talk in both teams now, really going after each other.
From deep, Billups. The shot no good. And it's the Pacers taking it the other way.
Well, unfortunately, he just has not been able to produce offensively to this point.
Now Miller. 6 points for him. Shot clock at 3. Here's Bender. From outside, off the mark. Pistons trailed by 5. Hamilton drops in the breakaway layup. Hamilton's got 12 in the game.
That is so deceptive, that up and under move.
Outside Jackson. Timeout called the Pacers. There's 10 seconds left to play here in the third. And stolen by Prince.
Excellent steal that time. Pesky defensive play on his part.
Shot is off.
Boy, he had a great look at that, but really good defense contesting that shot.
And as we conclude the third quarter, what a game, neither team giving ground. We're seeing a tremendous game from Steven Jackson. As the fourth quarter gets going, let's swing it over to Doris Burke, who has our Sprite Spark report. Doris?
Hey, Kevin, for that great stretch the Pacers put together, they get the Sprite Spark Award. It seems they went into the locker room and came out with some answers because their defense has been airtight in this last half. The whole atmosphere of the game changed with their lockdown defense. Let's see if it continues.
Thank you, Doris. They made a statement with that big run, Clark.
They sure did. I mean, actually, this team has what I like to call spurtability.
Clark, that's becoming one of our trademarks right there.
Without question.
We're all over it.
One of the great basketball words out there.
And Clark, I think the defense was sort of shell-shocked by that spurtability. They were reeling.
Miller is out there with Steven Jackson. Then there's Jermaine O'Neal. Then there's Artest and Bender. That's the Pacers' 5. Miller outside, and O'Neal backs in. Now Hamilton defending. It's Chauncey Billups with the rebound.
Gotta like the defense not quitting on the play and getting a hand in the face.
Sure do. With a tough defender breathing down your neck, that makes it not an easy shot.
Here's Billups. Guarded by Jackson. From deep, Phillips. Here's Wallace, and their work on the board pays off with the second chance points.
And this continues to be a shootout.
Well, I'm a fan as well as a commentator, and I love this fast-paced action. I mean, it's going back and forth, back and forth.
They get the rebound. Prince against Miller. Drops in the layup for two.
Crashing the offensive glass is such a big part of this game, and it's going to pay off for them.
Phillips from outside, kept alive. Here's Wallace. O'Neal with the defensive effort.
Another board, just continuing to add to that big rebound margin.
And it's a bit ironic, guys. I mean, you would think the score wouldn't be so close the way they're dominating the glass, but this one is still in the balance.
Jackson against Phillips. Prince against Miller. And stolen by Wallace.
And, you know, despite the number of turnovers, Kevin, they've still got the lead here.
Well, eventually, guys, you know those mistakes will come back and haunt you, so they've got to do a better job of taking care of the basketball.
And stolen by Phillips. Fast break, here we go. From deep three-point range, and it's Hamilton that time on the assist by Phillips. Phillips has got 6 assists in the game, and the Pacers call time here.
They've been committing a lot of turnovers, and I imagine that's exactly what they're talking about right now. They need to tighten it up.
And now Doris Burke has an update from the sidelines.
Yes, thanks, guys. I got a chance to hear what Rick Carlisle was saying to the team. He told his guys, listen, this is going to be a fantastic win, but if we let it get away from us, it'll be just as bad a loss. Let's make sure that doesn't happen, okay? I'm sure they were listening, Kevin.
Here's Phillips. Picked up by Artest. And the rejection by O'Neal. The three is launched. Prince misses.
Boy, even though he missed, you can't give up that kind of a look very often.
Yeah, they're lucky that they didn't get burned on that one.
And here's Miller. Covered by Hamilton. 6 to shoot.
2 minutes.
Miller inside. Covered by Hamilton. Rebound by Wallace.
Tell you what, the defender made a nice recovery there. It looked like he was beaten, but he still managed to challenge the shot.
Stolen by Jackson. The finish. Oh, that's blocked. The Pistons trailer. Stolen by O'Neal. Artest on the wing. And it's Wallace picking him up. Moving it around nicely. Clock at 4. Miller, the pass to O'Neal.
They just haven't been as solid as they were earlier in the game in terms of taking care of the basketball.
Prince outside. Stolen by O'Neal.
Well, in the second half, we've seen them get caught napping a few too many times. I mean, those miscues are starting to add up.
And this is why you need size inside, the ability to contest shots and force misses.
Steve, that's exactly right. Even when you get in close, it's still a tough shot.
Less than 1 minute left.
And that had to feel good.
Yeah, he exhaled as that one went down.
And the Pacers call time here. They're behind by 1. 51 seconds left to play here in the fourth. Here's Miller. Artest with the screen on Prince. Open look. It falls. Time running low, guys, and somebody has got to win this one.
You know, quite honestly, Kevin and Steve, I mean, this game, as close as it's been, you really hate to see it come to an end.
I agree.
Well, then let's root for overtime. Why not?
Wallace. Foul call that time on the way up. That'll give him 2 chances at the free throw line here. We'll get Jermaine O'Neal.
Well, they did have a foul to give, but they couldn't get it done before the shot attempt.
Yeah, you really want to try to foul in that situation before he gets into the shooting motion, and it just didn't work out that time.
Timeout called the Pacers. They lead by 1. We've got 33 seconds left in the game. So it's Indiana now. They lead by 1. Jackson against Prince. Miller kicks to Jackson. Outside Artest. And Phillips picks him up defensively. 5 to shoot. It's tipped. And the shot clock expires. Great D to stop him cold.
You cannot afford to make mistakes like that here in a tight game.
Time called here. The Pistons decide to talk it over. They're down by 1. 9 seconds left in the fourth. Seconds left here in the fourth quarter. Missed!
Great effort on the glass. Really went out nice and strong to get that ball.
So a close game sees Indiana take this one. It was tight, but they managed to come up with the win.
You know, nobody wants to lose a close game, Kevin. It's much better to win those tight ones.
And that about wraps it up for Clark Kellogg, Steve Kerr, and Doris Burke. This is Kevin Harlan thanking you for watching the NBA. Presented by 2K Sports. And now, Jordan presents our player of the game, Steven Jackson.